Welcome to the video devotional where I'm telling you, God worked in mysterious ways. His ways are certainly not mine, including the inspiration of this devotional. Now, before you judge it, I'm asking that you don't. I already did that, and I was totally wrong. I dismissed the meaning of the hymn and the inspiration that caused it. The good news is, though, that I understand it now. The hymn is called Come Thou Fount of Many Blessings, and its inspiration came from a greatly unappreciated passage that I blew off. I just didn't understand it until God spoke to me. So I'm asking that you'd please hear my story. Here's how it went down. It was just after 1 a.m. and I just finished editing the hymnology music video for this devotional. And I sat down on a couch to watch it on the big TV. And then about 1 minute into watching it, God showed up, and almost instantly, my eyes filled up with tears and my emotions, they got away from me. And here's why. In a matter of seconds, the Lord started giving me memories of times in my past, and these weren't the ones I was proud of. He started showing me time and time again where I cried out to Him, where I prayed, and then He answered my prayer, and then I forgot about it. He started showing me times where there was deliverance, and I forgot. Times where I'd prayed for others, and there were miracles, and there were healings, and all kinds of things that God did. And rather than be thankful, and rather than have my faith grow, become stronger, I just got spiritual amnesia and forgot. And so I felt ashamed, and I felt guilt, and that was part of why I had the tears in my eyes. And I remember thinking, what a horrible thing it is to forget about the miracles that God does in your life. And then in a small, still voice, I felt like God said, what you did is human. Now at first I thought, that just sounds like an excuse. But then it became clear to me that this is why this story of Ebenezer is so important. So I want to quickly look at this story. It's found in 1 Samuel. We're going to begin in chapter 4, verse 1. Now the first thing that we read is the Israelites are about to fight the Philistines, and they're camped at a place called Ebenezer. Verse 2. In the first battle, the Philistines kill 4,000 Israelites. Now, to bring some context to this story, you need to know that historians believed that the total size of the Israelite army ranged somewhere between 40 and 60,000 men, which means the Israelites had barely started this battle and they've already lost 10% of their men. But then the story actually gets worse. We read in verse 10 that the Israelites are slaughtered and lose 30,000 foot soldiers, followed by verse 11, where the Philistines capture the ark. Now look, this is a big deal. The Ark of the Covenant was the identity of the Israelites. And so this is a rough chapter, and if you have time, go in and read it. Okay, now let's fast forward to chapter 7, verse 2. We see that Samuel calls on the Israelites to repent and to return to the Lord. Then in verse 3, the people repent. Followed by verse 10, it reads, while Samuel was sacrificing the burnt offering, the Philistines drew near to engage Israel in battle. In other words, they came back and they want to finish off the Israelites. But then it reads, but that day the Lord thundered with loud thunder against the Philistines and threw them into such a panic that they were routed before the Israelites. Now in another version, it says that God put fear in their hearts. Verse 11, the men of Israel rushed out to Mizpah and pursued the Philistines, slaughtering them along the way. Then verse 12, this is the main verse, it reads, then Samuel took a stone and set it up between Mizpah and Shin. He named it Ebenezer. All right, let's pause for a minute, because this is where I missed it. And so, Lord, let the next words be directly from you. And please show whoever's listening what you showed me. All right, this is the part that opened my eyes, and once I understood, I fell in love with this verse 12. Number 1, remember. Samuel wants his people to remember what God has done for his people. Number 2, preservation. So he finds a way to preserve the memory by finding first a strategic location, and then he knows he needs to display it somehow in a way that would remind the Israelites going forward how God had delivered his people from the hands of the Philistines. So we know that Samuel used a large stone. And here's why this was so important then, and here's why it's so important now. Because Samuel knew that the spiritual strength of the Israelites was directly linked to the memories that they had about God. And he knew that when the people would forget, they would walk away, they would wander, they would doubt, they would lose faith, they would complain. But he also knew that when they remembered what God had done in their life, they were more faithful and they would stay strong spiritually. And so he knew that without building a display, his people would forget, just like they did in Egypt. They forgot about when God turned the Nile River and all the water sources in Egypt into blood. And they forgot about the frogs and the gnats, and they forgot about the flies and the plagues that filled the land. They forgot about the painful boils that broke over all the people, the hailstorms that destroyed the crops in Egypt, and the massive swarms of locusts that consumed the Egyptian crops. They forgot about the thick darkness that covered Egypt for 3 days. They even forgot about how God killed all the firstborn males in Egypt, including the animals. And they forgot about how he parted the Red Sea, and they forgot about the 40 years where he fed them every day while they wandered in the wilderness. And they forgot about the pillar of fire and the cloud by day, and they forgot about all the battles, one after another, where God helped and delivered and saved them, like the Battle of Redfin or the one in Baasha, the Battle of Jericho, where the walls come a-tumbling down because they're blowing trumpets. Come on. These are huge miracles, and they forgot. The reality is that I'm not any different. So the focus of this week is, number one, to remember. I need to take time to remember the things that God's done in my life. And then number two, to preserve, to find a way to preserve these memories. For me, I'm going to write them down in a special place. And then number three, display. I need to find ways to display the great things that God's done in my life. And so for this week, that's the purpose. That's the focus of this devotional, to remember, to preserve, and to display. And I want to encourage you to join me, because I believe, because if you display the great things God's done in your life, it will help you and your family stay closer to Him. That concludes this audio.